session, huh? I'm going to introduce you and we'll go from there. Again, if people have questions, please put them in the chat. Shyama Majumdar is Director of Science Accelerators Investments at Polsky Center at the University of Chicago. Previously, she was a research assistant professor at University of Illinois at Chicago and held research positions at several other academic institutions. Shyama has also been involved in several organizations focused on entrepreneurship and has held leadership positions in graduate student organizations. She has an MBA from Lerner College of Business and Economics and a PhD in biological sciences from University of Delaware. Shyama also has a master's degree in biotechnology from Bangalore University and an undergraduate degree in zoology from Delhi University. Oh, that was a mouthful. Thank you for joining us. Shyama, Polsky Center, let's jump right into it, has 3 industry-specific accelerators. Can you tell us about each of them and what they focus on?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here, Kathleen. So yes, we do have 3 different vertical specific accelerators. One is in the quantum space called Duality, which was launched in 2021. The next one that was launched in March of 2023 was Transform, which is our data science and AI accelerator. And then we have our third one, which is in the clean tech space called Resurgence, which was the latest one launched just last year. We've had only one cohort of them. So it's essentially all of these 3 accelerators map to the different areas of expertise that we have in the university and the type of research that's coming out of the university. It's only been here in a short period of existence, but I think they're going pretty well. And yeah.
Well, I mean, they're unique because many universities have accelerators, but these accelerators are not limited to University of Chicago startups. Tell us about how that works.
That is correct. This is unique in that sense that the impetus behind, first of all, making this available to anybody in the world really was the fact that we wanted to see the Midwest and the Chicago as a place where we will see cutting edge deep tech startups coming and co-locating or headquartering. So that was one of the big impetus behind this. And so that being said, it is open to anybody, and a lot of our applicants as well as participants are in different parts of the country and even different parts of the world. Particularly for our Duality quantum accelerator, we get a lot of interest globally. We have had teams that have participated from Canada, France, England, India, and the other accelerators as well have seen participants from everywhere in the world. But so I think I want to just double click a little bit on the quantum side of things, just because it was the first. So the Duality was the first quantum accelerator in the country. There wasn't one before that. There was one, like Creative Destruction Lab, I think they're here today, was one that was in North America, they launched in Canada, but in the United States, the Duality was the first quantum accelerator. And in the years past, what we've been seeing is a sort of a nucleation effect in the Chicago area, where we're seeing more and more, emphasis and focus going on the quantum technology and the economic development around quantum as well. And so that has been one of the reasons why we tend to get so much interest in our quantum ecosystem and the quantum startup accelerator that we have.
So I just want to broadly, with these accelerators, are they in residence accelerators? Does a startup need to move to Chicago? Does it need to stay in Chicago? What are the...
Yeah, all of the accelerators are hybrid programs. I think post Zoom, we've seen nothing is in person completely anymore. And we want to make sure that we sort of stay in line with that. And big reason for that is especially technologies like quantum, they're all coming out of, they're like hard tech research-based companies that are coming out of labs, research labs and universities and things like that. And so a lot of the R&D work is happening there. So the accelerator is mainly focused on entrepreneurial education and the provision of business and technical talent. So the way we have set up the programs is there's an initial period when they come in for a few weeks, which is in person, because we believe that that first foundational immersion into the accelerator is extremely important, and that needs to happen in person, where they meet each other in person, and there's like a lot of peer-to-peer bonding and learning that's happening. And that's when they have an onslaught of all of the, the basics of startup creation that happens. And then the few weeks after that, they all go virtual, and then they come back for a smaller in-person sessions, another, couple of times, essentially until they ended. So they don't have to, just to participate in the accelerator, they don't have to locate here, although we would like for them to come and set up shop here in Chicago area, and that's happened with several startups. The second thing that is also necessary is, if especially companies that are applying from outside of the United States, we do ask them to be incorporated as an entity within the United States. So that is another, sort of a lever that we can pull in making sure we're attracting the right kind of companies and talent into the ecosystem.
And what are the benefits? I mean, well, let's start with, one of the obvious ones. You have one of the best business schools in the country in Booth, and I would imagine that that is something that these startups can benefit from.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I think the University of Chicago name is a big draw for a lot of the startups. Besides just the technical expertise that is coming out of the university, I think the student talent is a big part of it. So we actually, one of the things that all of our accelerators does a little bit differently from any other accelerator really is the provision of student talent. So we have very intentionally created a program that allows for the startups to onboard student talent, both in the technical and more so actually in the business realm, especially for our technical startups like Quantum. They're interested in business school students that they want on their teams that can help with their go-to-market strategy or market research or whatever it is that they're doing at the time. And so that event, we call it the Collaboratorium, is where, the startups will come do a 5-minute pitch. We actually had one just 2 days ago for our Transform cohort. The newest Transform cohort, they do a 5-minute pitch, and the pitch ends with a slide that says, we are looking for 3 or 2 students that will do X, Y, and Z for us. And so if you're interested, come find us at a networking session, which follows the pitches. It's really cool. They're standing around these highboy tables. There's a little QR code on their tables that the students will swarm to the table to talk to the founders. They'll scan the QR code, and that leads them to an interest form. And at the end of the night, each startup walks away with 15 to 20 interested applicants for their company. And then it's between the startup and the students to really, vet each other and see where the fit is best. So this has been a tremendous program that has allowed for our business school students to, be associated with early stage, deep tech companies.
Well, and you get the buzz going that way, right? You don't, I mean, in a lot of business schools, the students want to get to Wall Street, period, right? But you get that buzz going about the startups with all that.
I think so. And I think the focus, all the University of the Booth School of Business has predominantly been very heavy on the finance side of things. In the recent years, we are seeing more and more students that are coming to the Booth School of Business for entrepreneurial education. And they're not just coming to sit in a classroom and learn about how do you do entrepreneurship. They want to do that, get that firsthand experience. And a lot of the business school students they have technical backgrounds, so they want to be engaged in technical companies. And quantum is definitely something that is raising, curiosity among everybody. So it's just made for such a, an amazing program for both sides of the table.
Well, yeah, we should talk about I mean, the state of Illinois has wrapped, and University of Chicago and Oregon, everything that's wrapped around that accelerator. There are a lot of initiatives going on around quantum in Illinois, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Even so, the Duality accelerator is a unique sort of an entity in and of itself, because it's not just an accelerator program that's administered by the Polsky Center. It's actually a consortium of different institutions that have participated to actually stand this up. So the different institutions being University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign is our founding partner in this. in addition to the Chicago Quantum Exchange, which is also one of our founding partners. So we've taken these strategic partners and founded this thing together exactly to provide all of the different resources that are available in Chicago and Illinois. As you know, because you go down to Champaign, they have actual research facilities that our startups are able to use, and they do use them. And then, as you mentioned, Chicago, there's been just a lot of stuff that's happening here on the quantum side of things. Just last year, we had the pledge of $500 million that is going to the development of what's called the quantum campus in the south side of Chicago, very close to the University of Chicago. It's called the Illinois Quantum and Microelectronics Park, so IQMP. That's going to be, it was a site of an old, like a steel factory, and now they're going to build a whole campus around it. The idea is to get tenancy from bigger quantum companies. Quantum is going to be our anchor tenant for that. Another
That's PSI Quantum,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Exactly.
Instead of SIGH, right?
Yeah. So they're coming in, exactly. And they're going to be the quantum, so they're going to be the anchor tenant there. And then we want to be able to attract bigger corporations and create that hub for everything quantum and microelectronics related. We want to see that the startups that are coming out of Duality and other programs that are co-locating there. And then we have other scattered resources around the Chicago ecosystem too, like M-Hub has resources for hard tech companies. And then at the University of Chicago, we have a new building that's almost ready now, called Hyde Park Labs, that has come up, and it's housing an incubator space on the 5th floor called the Chicago Science Incubator, which is going to cater to early stage startups in quantum, clean tech, and life sciences spaces to be able to take tenancy there. There's going to be like dilution refrigerators for quantum companies to be able to use. And in addition to that, actually, we have also recently struck a deal with IBM. They're going to also have a presence in the Hyde Park Labs building. They're going to have a quantum computer there. So a lot is happening, at least in the quantum space, to start this flywheel effect. Hopefully that will bring more and more companies here. So the resources that we're putting together are not only just on the technical side, but with the education that we're providing around innovation and entrepreneurship is also something that we're very, very excited about.
Tell us about if I apply to say Duality, the quantum accelerator, what happens? How do you vet the applications, and then what happens if I get accepted?
Yeah, great question. So we take fewer companies. So we're not taking 10, 15 companies. We take fewer companies, somewhere between 5 and 7 companies that take into our accelerator program. So if an applicant were to apply, there's an application period that's open for about 2 or 3 months. We take the application. It goes through several rounds of rigorous review and screening. So first we screen out for eligibility. There is a technical review that happens to make sure that there is a technical feasibility of anything that's being proposed. And then there's a business feasibility review that also happens separately. Once those two things happen, we have now continue to cull the list down to a shortlisted group of finalists, which then we get around and we have a governing board for Duality that goes through the applications, and then we select our final 5 or 6 companies. It's always quality over quantity. So there have been cohorts where we've had 4 companies. There've been a cohort where we have had 5 to 6 companies. So it's still within the same range, but it needs to meet the bar of technical feasibility and business soundness. And so what does that mean, right? At what stage does the application have to be? We say that the TRL levels, or the technology readiness level, needs to be somewhere between 2 and 5. So it's still earlier stage at this stage. And then we coin another term called the investment readiness level. So we call it the IRL. And we say that the IRL level needs to be somewhere between 4 and 6. and what our goals are as they go through this accelerator program, because most of our emphasis is on the business development, entrepreneurial education. We want them to be in, at their IRL levels to go from 4 to 6 to 6 to 8, so where they're actually actively having conversations with investors, meaningful conversation that can lead to their first funding round. And we also hope that with the technology readiness level also progresses alongside to be able to enable that investment readiness level.
You tell us about a company or two that has gone through. You've had successes out of the quantum
Yeah.
accelerator.
Absolutely. So, do you want to just me to talk about quantum or transform, like AI, both? Doesn't matter.
Maybe one.
Yeah.
We have 2 minutes, so.
Okay. Sounds good. So, one of the companies that I'm particularly that I like to talk about and I'm very fond of is MemQ. It's a quantum hardware company in the quantum communication space. So they're actually building parts for a quantum computer. And it was founded by a graduate student at the University of Chicago. They went through a lot of our internal programming, participated in Duality, also participated in chain reaction innovation. So here's another example of our,
That's the Argonne Fellowship Program.
Argonne, yeah, exactly, the Argonne Lab. So went through both of those, ended up raising over $2 million from Condonation, which is a VC based out of Europe, and now is gearing up for the Series A raise. So they've been immensely successful, and of course, these life cycles are long.
And
And
can you
then
spell the name of that company just for everyone?
MEQ, MEM, and then a capital Q.
Thank you.
Yeah. Qbraid is another great company, another example of something. And then, of course, Supertech was another company that got acquired by called Quanta. So we've had exits, we've had seed raises. And then on the AI side, one that really stands out to me, their name is Echo Labs. There were 2 college dropouts, 19-year-olds decided to apply. We almost didn't take them into our accelerator because we were like, oh, not sure.
I mean, because you're University of Chicago, how can you
University of Chicago, we can't deal with them with 19-year-old dropouts. How can you drop out of college and start a startup? You have to. So we almost didn't take them, but we did. And they went on to raise $7.4 million in a pre-seed round with Bay Area investors. So it's a technology that is doing real-time transcription for wherever there's an ADA compliance required for transcription, like Zoom or classes and things like that. And they have like over 200 pilots running with universities across the nation, including University of Chicago. So those are the 2 that come to mind straight away with a lot of success, both on the commercial side of things and getting customers, raising funding, or, getting acquired.
Well, and one last thing, just, I don't want to scare people. They don't have to move to Chicago. If University of Nebraska has a really cool AI company, it can go through your accelerator and stay in Nebraska, right?
Yeah, several of our startups go through it and then don't co-locate. We want them to co-locate and have a presence here, but it's definitely not a requirement at all. So they come, they reap the benefits of being a part of the accelerator program, and then they go back and do this. Like we have a company from Argentina that came in Transform last year, and they're back in Argentina and they're doing so well. Like,
Well, it's an amazing asset for the world, but it's particularly gratifying that it's in the Midwest. So thanks for sharing the story of it with us, Shyama.